Welcome back to the Office Freedom Podcast, Flex with Richard Smith. In this session, I'm being interviewed by Ola Bradford, the Head of Global Facilities at YouGov plc, talking all things Flex in a beautiful riverside setting outside the WorkTech event in London. Good afternoon, everyone. I am very happy to be here. We're at WorkTech London in Canary Wharf, and I would like to take this opportunity to introduce Ola Bradford, who is the Head of Workplace at YouGov plc.
Thank you, Richard. Richard Smith, CEO and founder of Office Freedom, the world's first serviced and flex office broker.
Correct. That is true, and it's been a long time actually, almost 29 years. But it's great to be here at this event, you know, doing face-to-face again after a couple of years, and what a couple of years it's actually been for us. Oh, wow. It's been challenging, but we're all resilient. We've come through it, and we're here back again. In fact, the last time we did an event was at WorkTech 2019, where, as it happens, Julie Cold, who was a fellow exhibitor from Denmark, Copenhagen, she now is our Head of Sales and Marketing and at Office Freedom. So you just never know what the future holds. And it's certainly been interesting times.
So how did you start? When did you start with Office Freedom?
Office Freedom I set up in 1993. I was walking through Berkeley Square. It was looking at some leasehold offices, and I was with a client, and we walked past a building and it said serviced office outside, and I didn't know what serviced office was, nor did he. But we went in there, and basically he liked the space, he signed for the space. Next day, after that, he moved in, like 3 or 4 days. And as a leasing agent, all I was used to was deals taking several months. So I looked into it and realised there was a big gap in the market. No such thing as a serviced office agent or broker or flexible offices. So I created there and then, you know, the world's first brokerage that focused on flex.
Right person in the right time.
Right person, right time. Although potentially I was probably a little bit early actually, because in those days when I had black hair, less of the grey, it was the good old yellow pages, and it was just before the internet, before Google. It was probably a bit early, funnily enough, but I felt amazing to have actually created something so fresh and new and original.
So the flex market, flex industry, that has changed over the last 30 years since you started.
Yeah.
What were the major turning points?
The major turning points were Regis, who are now known as IWG. They started in '89. They now have 3,300 locations. They are definitely get the credit for bringing the sector to the market in the first place. WeWork have arrived in 2010. They just went public last week. You can look on Amazon Prime and see something that says the rise and fall of WeWork, but that's actually unfair. Everyone goes through ups and downs and has some good times and bad times, but they're also resilient under new management and ownership. And the Office Group arrived in 2003. They were the first UK company to actually create contemporary, cool offices that really changed the industry and the map.
I don't think many people know that, right? The Office Group was the first.
Yeah, they were the first to really create contemporary space that was like a real slant towards the architecture and the look and feel of the whole spaces, because before that the industry was known as a bit mundane. The spaces were not exactly fit for purpose, and yeah, we had early challenges. In the early days, no one was really paying attention. Landlords, corporates, agents, they weren't really that interested. It was like, you know, everyone's seen The Office, the famous Ricky Gervais program. That's what a lot of the offices looked like.
True.
And it just was not fit for purpose. But things have changed, and the industry has certainly received a massive amount of investment over the last decade.
And the investment really helped the industry to come of age. That's what you just said, right?
It's come of age. It was already trending. Flex was trending before the pandemic. And with the pandemic, the whole world is thinking agile, flexible, even more. Now you can get small offices, large offices, entire floors, entire buildings. You know, you can accommodate 10 people, 5 people, or 500 or 1,000 people. There's now no limit to flex. It's become a true, genuine alternative, viable alternative to traditional leasing. And with that, large corporations have joined the Flex party, YouGov being one of them. And there's many other companies that have joined the Flex industry. Startups and SMEs were at the party from the very beginning because it had so many attractions. You can move in immediately. You don't need to spend money on fit out. There's not a dilapidations and reinstatement bill, but the buildings themselves were not really that fit for purpose. But now it's all changed, and now the growth of the Flex industry is really in play.
Okay, so Flex industry, mainstreams, widely accepted. What have you got any challenges? What sort of challenges Office Freedom has because of that?
Yeah, I mean, in the early days, we were the only guy in town. I mean, I was like literally waiting for all the competition to arrive. I didn't want them to, but they did. And now I go to the Emirates Stadium with the 60,000 people to watch my beloved Arsenal Football Club, and I actually feel like I've got 60,000 competitors. Every man and his dog is now a serviced office broker. So therefore, it's meant that we've had to adapt.
So how have you adapted with lots of competition on the market? How is your business model different from where you started? What has changed?
The biggest thing we've done is we've converted from a matching service to what I call a single point of contact tenant rep service. So we now represent tenants. We used to match. So we would get a client saying they want X amount of offices, X amount of spaces in a certain city. We would send a list of serviced offices to the client, and we would give the client and the serviced officer each other's contact details. So we wouldn't really do much. We would then stand back, the transaction would happen, but the clients did the deal, but they didn't enjoy the experience. And they used to get inundated with calls and emails. So we've changed it to not giving out details anymore, us being a single point of contact, filtering, protecting all of that, non-stop communicating, and from the operators. And, you know, if you go directly to an operator, they're all great individually, but, you know, their agenda is to get the best deal they possibly can, fair enough, but our agenda is to actually get the best deal we can for the tenant. And it's been an unbelievable amount of changes that have happened in the marketplace.
I've definitely enjoyed working with you for the last 12 months. You and your team especially are really good negotiators. Let's say badass negotiators.
I like to be called a little bit of badass because that's what we love to do.
No, it's been great. But so we don't pay you a fee. You negotiate a lower fee for us on the lower fee agreement.
Lower rental, yes.
And I assume your fee is lower because of that.
Yes.
How does it work?
You're right. The better the deal we do for you, the lower the fee we get. But we don't care about that. What we care about is a happy client, repeat business globally, because time and time again we're going to go the extra mile and we're going to negotiate very hard. And that's what exactly I was trained to do that from the beginning. I used to work for surveying firms that had no in-house clients. We used to feed off scraps, Yellow Pages, the Evening Standard, and we just used to battle for the clients. And that's been in my DNA from day one.
We've talked about it before, but in addition to the lower fee and no fee for me, you go the extra mile. You really look into the license agreements we are negotiating, or you're negotiating on our behalf. You've read my house rules recently.
Yeah.
So you're really trying to save us that every penny.
Yes.
That's possible. We had a number of conversations over the last 12 months about deals.
Yeah.
Why do you bother with those little bits?
You know what? Because we can. Because I've got a lot of my team members that used to work for serviced office providers, so they're familiar with the license agreements. They help create some of them. And now that they're on the other side and we're representing the tenant, if we can flag to your in-house legal team certain clauses that either need editing or removing even, you know, we're going to do that. And we're going to negotiate with the providers and try and get the best possible financial deal, but also license agreements for you, because it's within our capability. They're very light agreements. Like if you take a lease and it's a 200-page document that was probably templates created in like 1800, then yes, that's you know, we're not lawyers, but you know, that really is for a bit too technical. But the license agreements are very simple, so it makes it a pleasure to go that extra mile.
No, I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Last question.
Yeah.
So we worked on deals global in different locations globally.
Yeah.
And you supported us globally. But I know that you don't really have a physical presence in a few of those countries. How does that work?
Well, that's one of the beauties of this model. We've built up 15,000 locations in 1,000 cities in 150 countries. We've got relationships with all those providers, all those buildings. They have people that have staff in-house managing the property, available at short notice to do viewings. So if you said to me, out the blue, you're landing in Dubai tomorrow and you need to see some offices, we could do that process in the same way in Dubai as we would do in Derby, the same way we do in London as we do in Los Angeles, because we got those relationships we built up over all these years, and that's what the competition cannot duplicate. Anybody can say, I'm now a service office broker and get listed with some of the operators, but not everyone can say that they've got a 30-year relationship and they know what buttons to press. They know who to call in what scenario. So it's just an incredible model. And in fact, when we were first speaking, you called us up randomly for an office in Stockholm.
Yes.
And then
it took a while.
Yeah, it did take a while. And then, in fact, we did some other transactions before that. And I said to you on the day, like, what other requirements do you have? And you said, oh, you're looking at something in Bucharest, in Mumbai, in India. And I said, are you advanced? And you went, a little bit, and you kindly said to me, right, these are the 2 or 3 we're already looking at. And we had a look at those deals, and we actually bettered the deals that they had given to you. So it's just an incredible case study, example of what we've done with YouGov globally around the world.
At no fee.
And no fee to you. It's just one of the bizarre quirks of the flex industry. It's a bit like the US tenant rep model.
It is.
In America, the agents have always represented the tenant, but been paid by the landlord. And that's exactly what we have morphed into, that tenant representation agent. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to demonstrate our services. I know that when we first met, it wasn't easy for you, because when you joined YouGov, within a very short space of time, you were tasked with closing all the offices because the pandemic had just hit. So, it's an incredible job that you've done. And I really appreciate you coming out today and the opportunity to work with you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate our business.
I hope you enjoyed that. It's always a pleasure speaking with Ola Bradford. I look forward to seeing you very soon at the next episode of the Office Freedom Podcast, Flex with Richard Smith.